Hi Gavin, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome here.
Fantastic. Thank you for inviting us to your lovely home.
Thanks.
So we'll be discussing AVDD today.
Yes.
So on the chapter about acceptance,
Yes.
right? What did you have to accept about yourself or the responsibility of starting your bookstore here in Goodwood?
Look, I think you come to a stage in your life where you know there's more. And with that more comes a sense of acceptance, accepting the responsibility of the next stage of your life. So for me, the bookstore was purely kind of an evolution of where it is that my life was heading. I've always been very interested in writing and reading as a very young child. I was first published when I was 10 years old. And then over life, that I think becomes part of the journey. And I felt that in Goodwood we needed a space, and that is what my bookstore is all about.
Fantastic. So you accepted from a very tender age that this is something that you would eventually do.
It had always been part of me. I think when you're young, the important thing is to understand what it is that we are good at. I always spoke very well in class. I always did very well in my orals and my written essays, etc. I was also very gifted academically. And I think those were some of the things that over my years has always guided me. Um, you know, 10 years old, there you come, you won a national competition, poetry competition. When you're 16 years old, you have your first book ready. When you're 25 years old, your first book is sort of in the writing process. So for me, that has always been something that had guided me. But my mom is a teacher, and as my mom being a teacher, from a very young age, I would sit and mark all of the exams, the questionnaires, and everything together with her. It was the funniest thing. So I always had this red pen with me,
Yeah.
And when I turned, I think 35, I realized that there were so many other people out there who wanted to write.
Mm.
And I had this idea of then starting a publishing company. It was only many years later that we got to that stage.
Yeah.
So I was still sitting with my red pen and I go through everything, and so I think life shows us
Yeah.
what are the things that you are good at, and you'll see as soon as you engage with that, suddenly life starts opening different doors and different spaces for you to be able to do. And I think then comes a kind of acceptance of what your purpose and your role is in life.
That's great. You actually touched on the second chapter, which brings us to our second part, the visualization part.
Yeah.
So you said you had an idea of a bookstore. So in your visualization stage, how did you see this bookstore? I'm sure it wasn't what it is today.
Life for me has always been picture. Yeah. So I always see life in terms of the vision. So once we accept, we say thanks. And once we've said thanks, we ask for blessing. And once we've done that, suddenly your mind start conjuring up the visual of where it is and what it is, and that your next step in life will be. So I, many years back, had this idea that I want to grow my weight until I'm 105.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I'm 105, I'm going to go through this whole series of losing that weight.
Yeah.
And showing people how I lose the weight,
Uh-huh.
and making money through that. You go through those things. So once you have that visual fat 105 in my head,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I started picking up weight.
Boom.
So for me, that visualization is very important, and that visualization is ignited by your imagination.
Of course.
And as long as the imagination is driven by all that is pure
Mm-hmm.
and positive
Mm-hmm.
and yes in your life, then your picture will never be something that you're not asked for. Your picture will never be something that you're not visualized before. So for me, that practice, sometimes I will go into a bookstore, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
and I will pick up a book. And sometimes it's not about the reading of the book in that moment. But once you touch and once you feel, suddenly you start visualizing what it is that the whole book might be all about. So I had a book many, many years ago. It's by an author called Shakti Gawain. Now, Shakti Gawain, Gawain. I thought it was a guy. Yeah. And all this time, the book is called Creative Visualization. And when I picked this book up, I said to myself, man, I'm doing this anyhow.
Yeah, as we usually do.
And I've done it all my life, so I don't need to read the book. But
of course.
But maybe I just keep this book close. So I kept this book for many years, and I've never read the book. And then last year, I was busy with a marketing exercise for one of my authors. And here pops up this Shakti Gawain. And it turns out to be a female. That had written all of these things about how, not only visualizing, but how do we use our creativity to steer that process of visualization. So what I'm saying is I can imagine a fat 105, but I can also imagine a fat 105 sitting on a beach sipping pina coladas.
Of course, expand
with the sun
the vision.
shining and this beautiful view
It's
around
infinite,
it. So I think that is where the creative part of it all comes in. Visualization is amazing.
And your bookstore, if you apply to the bookstore, is the bookstore what you saw in your head? Is becoming, because I'm sure it's a continuous process.
Yeah. Look, the bookstore for me is something really amazing. Amazing in the sense that last year when I did the research around Goodwood and the space and what my offering would be, obviously I knew that you couldn't make a business only by selling books. So I really last year when I sat down, I looked at what are the various different components that will become part of the bookstore itself, you know, to drive the sustainability of it.
Of course.
So I knew I had the publishing company, but I had to add various other things into the bookstore, but things that also, you know, sort of speak to literature and art and, you know, all of that. So I have the idea of the gallery, that the bookstore space will also be a gallery space. I had the idea of bringing in various different speakers. Through that we can generate an income by bringing them into the space. I had to look at jazz and, you know, open mic and all of those kind of evenings. Also renting the space to people either for an hour or for events or whatever the case may be. I thought about art programs, a book club, etc., etc. And all of this happened very quickly, to the extent where I think at some stage I had to pull back and spend time once again here in my quiet to see how do we bring it that it not only makes sense, but that I'm able to stay on top of every part of the work within the bookstore itself. So in my third month running the business, I completely pulled out of the business. And my afternoons were then seeing, you know, how do we fit in and make sure that all of these various parts and components run properly. So I had a vision of all the parts of the business. But you know, at some stage I think you need a little bit of time just to sit back, not reflecting so much, but just to make sure that the next steps of your business run smoothly. And once I did that, suddenly the health inspector gave me a new health license. So now in the shop, in my cafe, I can now sell burgers and chips and, you know, all of those kind of things. I'm contacted by the Peter de Villiers Foundation, where they want to use my facility for him to come and speak for free. Now, I mean, like for someone like Peter to say, you know, I want to come to your space and speak for free, these are not things that just happen. You know, it has to be something about us putting into the space what it is that we want to achieve over time. And I think that's a visualization, taking it to all the different levels, like I said, and using our imagination and the creativity to bring together beyond what we imagine.
Yeah, that's correct, and certainly worked on a large scale, which brings us to our third chapter, declare.
Yeah.
So it's all in your head. So when you declared it, who did you tell it to? Who did you tell first? What did you tell people? What is this thing? What was their response like?
I think what we often do, and I'm also in the past, someone had once said to me, strive to achieve your silent ambitions. And I thought, like, that is like smart. And I never would share until such time that I know it's going to happen now.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know it's going to happen in a big way now.
Yeah.
But over life, I've realized that for me, that's not the way to do. Because I realized the power in the words that we put out there.
Yes.
So what I learned to do after then was, even if it hasn't happened yet, I speak it into the space.
Speak it into existence.
And I speak it into the space. Sometimes it's almost like timidly, because you have that doubt in the back of your head still. And the more and the more and the more and more you start doing it, the more powerful it becomes.
Yeah.
And that for me is the speaking, the declaring of who it is I am, where it is I'm going, what it is that I'm achieving in life, and how great it is what I do. So those are things that I believe when we declare, it is not so much a declaration to anybody else but to yourself first. Yeah. So when I spoke about the business, it was first to me, saying, you can do this, man.
Of course.
And it's going to be a great space.
Yeah.
And it's going to be beautiful. And these are the kind of touches you're going to have inside this facility. I said to myself that, around the space, these are some of the words that I am going to put into the space around me.
Yeah.
Now, making that decision sometimes can be very daunting.
Of course.
Daunting because you're putting, almost like you're putting your soul out there.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I think that you still care about what people think and say.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Ego.
but as you get older, you realize that so what?
People think what they want to think
they
anyway.
want to think. So the thing about declaring for me is first to yourself, and then to those around you. Because what happens sometimes when we declare, I was just thinking about a post I wrote last night. There are haters out there, man.
No, they have a job to do.
They have a job. They have a job to do, and they also awaken your eyes and all of those kind of things. Whatever the feedback is that comes, because you've said it to yourself first, because you've got within yourself then the conviction, the confidence, and the assertion to take it forward. Whatever comes from those that you declare to, even if it's negative, all it does, it bounces off.
Yeah.
And that for me is the part of declaring in life, but first to you.
Of course. I think that's a pivotal aspect, and I'm probably going to hear that from a lot of our Titans as we continue with the interviews, which brings us to our final chapter, do, right? So you've accepted the responsibility for starting the bookstore. You've visualized what the bookstore would look like. You've declared to yourself first what this bookstore would have. The doing aspect, I think, is where a lot of people get stuck. What happened there? What did you do? What did you have to do? What you still have to do?
I've led many huge organizations in the past, and what I've realized about about running your own is that you start off with a very strong kind of a sentimental, emotional approach. It's your baby.
It's your baby, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so you have all of these kind of things, and you want to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And after month 2, I realized that I can't do everything.
Of course, yeah.
So I had to go through that real process of giving things to others.
Mm.
For example, the administration part, I'm not good at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good at overseeing that it's done properly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am very good at the whole thinking process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good at implementing and developing. But when it comes to the execution on the grassroots, if I put it that way, level, I'm not very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in my bookstore, for example, I need people to assist. I'm not a good sweeper. I'm not. So those kind of things that you realize that you have to give the doing over to others as well.
It shows a certain level of maturity.
That shows a level of maturity, but it also shows, I think, for me, it allows the space for you to do so much more. So when I'm there in the morning at the shop, I make sure that everything is in place, that everything is running smoothly. But it gives me free time to do in the afternoon the more that the shop and my business and everything that I am means.
Mm-hmm.
So I have time to write, I have time in the afternoon to edit, I have time to look at new work that comes through, I have time to engage with others that think the same way that we do. Because I think that is also important for us to be in those spaces with people who are creative, with people who have a positive impact in our lives, with people that have a purpose to drive society forward in a very positive way. So that for me is also a big part of the doing that I'm currently busy with and that I enjoy. Sometimes I also think that we come to a stage where you kind of scratch your head and you say to yourself, am I doing enough? And I've oftentimes found myself there. And then I look back and I say to myself, look at what you've done.
Reflect, yeah.
Look at all of the things in your life that you've achieved. And it was no easy feat. Yeah. It's been hard work. Things don't just happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of gifts are given to us, like talent and stuff that we're good at, that we spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. But that also dictates that you work harder, that you do more, mm-hmm. that you do things differently, mm-hmm. and that you oftentimes have to pull away from society and spend quiet time with you.
Of course.
And in the quiet time, I think, things spark. We were talking about it earlier. And then once that itself is a doing process, and once you've achieved that in your life, and once you come into an acceptance of how you do, what you do, when you do, mm-hmm. and that whatever you do has been enough. I think that is the important thing for me in life. So there's always more to do.
Always.
Because our lives is not just business. Our business is our family. Our business is all of the loved one. Our business is community. It's part of something much greater and much bigger than us. Mm-hmm. And as long as we can do just the real simple important things every single day, like when a customer walks into my shop and I smile, sometimes it's not easy, eh?
Of course,
sometimes
yeah.
there's so many things that you're grappling with at the same time, and it's like this morning we sold 20 breakfast, and I'm like, that in itself is a lot of work. But the doing and the smiling and the engaging and the being hospitable, because that's my industry. Attracts people more and more. So for me, doing happens on various different levels, but we have to do.
Of course, that's great. So applying the chapters, just briefly, you've accepted the responsibility, you visualized what it would look like, you declared to yourself what it would be, what you want out of this, and you've went ahead and done it. How has that entire process been for you? Have you stopped the process? Can that process be applied to other aspects of your life as well?
I think all of it can be applied to various different aspects of life. And when I talk about the different aspects of life, I talk about our spirituality. We accept certain things. There's things I cannot change. I'm like the verse in the Bible. But in life we come to a stage where we can discern what it is that I can't change. And
serenity prayer.
Yeah. But once we've accepted the things, even on a spiritual level, it drives us forward. So it also applies to other levels of family life. It also applies to our relationships. Sometimes there's things that we accept, and I know we're never going to be friends. So, not pushing it, but just accepting that for what it is. You take it forward to the next level where you say to yourself, okay, so I've accepted this, I've now visualized what it is that I can change in my space or in my relationship or in terms of my spirituality. I'm visualizing what my next step there can be. Once we've declared, and we say, bro, I'm like,
it's real now.
I like you, and I'm like, your friendship, but we're not going to be buddies.
Yeah.
But we can be comfortable in each other's conversation and space and all of those kind of things. I say to myself, I declare that, I know that there's a power greater than me from a spiritual point of view. And then we get to the final stage where you say, all it is now is to go out and do within our families, do what it is that we want to do relationally,
of course,
with people around us, do what it is that we want to do in our communities. Make sure that I'm mega wealthy, and I love my wealth. I love being able to carry on what it is that I do every single day. Unchanged person,
it's still you.
Unchanged person, doing the same thing with more resources. And I think that is the beauty of what it is that you are proposing here in terms of us thinking through the process that leads us where it is that we will ultimately end up. So my tombstone will say one day, here rests the kindest man.
Yours is your first.
That's it, first year. And that's my end goal.
Cool.
I've got nothing more but that end goal in my life.
That's great, Gavin. Gratitude.
Awesome.
Gavin, everyone. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. This was awesome.
They will be in touch.
Great, man. Great.
Fantastic.
Awesome stuff.